been caught. Mead's been sort of found copying stuff from them, and they probably copy from each other anyways. So it's probably, nothing is particularly sacred, I guess.
Fortunately, we are a very hacking community.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of like to know what's going on inside, actually, myself. I mean, it's fun. Like, even if it might even cost you more, it's interesting just from the point of view of just knowledge, just knowing how it works.
Somebody took that mount that I borrowed from the club. Somebody has reverse engineered all the schematics.
Oh, really? Are they
They're
gonna
all online, and I'm working my way through them. They're not impossible. It's just a matter of taking the integrated circuits and the circuit boards and matching the things up. That's what they did.
Well, mechanically, they're not difficult. It's all in the electronics, especially nowadays, right?
Yeah, well, the actual the computer power of this particular mount is really impressive, but I'm trying to go around it, make a really dumb thing. All I wanted to do is track.
Which mount is it?
Hey, Randy, did you get it to work?
Not yet, but I've got a month before the next makers. No, I just I've been learning about 555 circuits, and I'm getting there. I will give you a full report.
Good.
Brock, what is your background? You seem to know about. You seem to know about these things. What's your background?
I'm a mechanical engineer, but I've spent my entire career in the world of electronics and optics. So.
Oh, doing what?
Designing LED lighting and signaling products.
That's spiff.
Brock, I want to have a beer with you someday. I'm an electrical engineer, robotics guy.
We should definitely meet for beer.
Well, Gary, what I know about robotics is from the robots that we bought from you 30 years ago.
What? Oh, are you the guy that, did you end up with the rock spinner?
Yep.
Well, how about that? Good for you. That probably spun up. Just so the rest of you guys know, we designed a little automatic system that grabbed the rock sample and spun it and determined the axis of the magnetic field or something like that.
Yep.
Well, how about that? There you go. That's cool.
Dave Payne, did you want me to share some images? I emailed you, but I wasn't sure if.
Oh, just recently?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I haven't checked.
Okay. I've got your Astrobin one, which I think is your best, that recent Ring Nebula one. So
That'd be great to see some images from the local group.
well, that was what I was thinking. So
Oh, that's a great idea.
Great idea.
some recent stuff. I don't know what else. Do you have anything else recent that I could pull up from Zen or Astrobin?
The recent astrophotos, of course, are the album to go to.
Yeah, there's that too. I just don't know all those. Is that just automatic, or does someone actually curate that?
I do.
Okay.
But I also encourage everyone that posts on Zenfolio to put that into the collection as well, because that's a collection. So.
Oh, do we have to do that? It's
It
not
would
done
help.
automatic. It's not done automatically, Joe?
No, it's a Joe job, but once a month I troll through the galleries and add everything to recents and to the 2021 astrophotos. But I would encourage you to do it yourself if possible.
Sure.
Saves
Sure,
me a
I
job.
thought it was magic.
I did too. I was fully in the magic world myself.
No, there's no magic involved.
So we need an Astro Cafe talk on Zen Zenfolio? And what you would like to see people do with it?
Sorry, you cut out halfway through.
Yeah.
I would love you to give us a talk, one Astro Cafe, about what your hopes and dreams are for Zenfolio and how you would like us to use it.
Well, that would bore most people, but I could certainly do that with the people who are on the Zenfolio contributors list.
Well, I don't even know about it, and I'd like to be.
Okay,
So I think I'm not the only one, though. So
Yeah,
don't
sure.
think
Well,
I'm boring.
I could start out with a light version and see how it goes.
I agree with Randy. I'd like to hear that too.
Do we have to pay?
Yes, just write me a check, please.
No, not.
$100 at a time.
I meant we as a club. Do we have to pay?
Yes. Comes out of your contributions. It's in our budget for hosting services.
Well, they wouldn't offer someone like us a freebie, would they?
No, it's pretty cheap. It's not really
It is-
worth
it
even
is- it is-
bothering.
it is cheap, and the storage is, I think, extremely generous.
Oh, okay.
And you can, it's got like a built-in template, like you could store stuff on lots of different places, but
Zenfolio
it's
is
quite
built
convenient. I mean,
for photographers, actually.
oh, yeah, basically, yeah. But I found it really useful for, plunking in a little narrative about where you were and, putting in technical information and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
We have so many really, really good people producing images. And so I just know that it's out there, but I haven't been doing it myself.
Yeah, it is a valuable resource, as is our Victoria Center video site on YouTube.
We have a video site on YouTube.
Yes,
Okay, then.
That's-
That's
That's
where these
where-
get stored.
well, that's where all the Astro Cafe videos are stored.
Oh, yeah, I guess if I stopped and thought about it, I'd figure that out. It must be stored somewhere.
Yeah, if you click on the little link underneath the video title, you'll get to Victoria Center's YouTube channel.
Oh, okay, I just thought it was magic, actually. But anyhow.
Joe makes it appear. It is.
Yes, that's my Monday night chore, to get that done before I go to bed.
And it's awesome. You already have all the times of each segment.
No, I don't. I have to do that manually
My goodness.
between when the meeting ends and when I post it.
It's amazing.
So I get to watch the whole thing over again.
I hope you realize how much we appreciate it.
Indeed.
Well, I must confess, I skipped through some of it, but I get all the highlights, which is all you need for YouTube.
I'll just give it another moment or two, and then I think we can get started.
So Randy, I suspect that's not your image, the one with the space station in front of the sun. Am I correct?
During an eclipse? No.
During an eclipse, yeah.
So
What?
that's Thierry Legault in France. He did it from Macon, and he does the most amazing things. But you have all the granulation of the sun, and you have super detail of the ISS. It's
Craziness. It's craziness.
Well, especially when you consider he's got about 1 second
Or
to get
less, yeah,
that
exactly.
transit captured.
Yeah, you're not kidding. Holy smokes.
But that's his specialty. He's been doing it for years.
Yeah, he has a really good astrophotography manual, so to speak, as
Does
well.
he? Oh,
Yeah, it's really good.
what sort of thing
covers-
is in the manual?
Well, he covers most of astrophotography. That's what's really good about it. It's a nice volume to own as a reference.
It's good because it's written from the perspective of someone who actually does it and is successful.
Yeah,
Could
that
you-
too.
Could you stick the title of that on the chat thing there, David, please?
Yep, could do that.
Thanks.
Hey, Mike Nash is here. We can show some of his moonshots, or you can show your own if you want to.
Well, I'm probably going to have to run, actually. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stay. I just looked at the time and I thought, oh, I can catch a few minutes of it at least.
Good for you.
Hey, Mike, do you put up with people phoning you and saying, how do you do things?
Phoning, not so much, but emails I'm pretty good with.
Is that right, Ann? Okay. So I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
If you have a big telescope and you shoot at 1/2000th of a second, is that better than having a small telescope and shooting at a little bit slower or not?
Well, what are you shooting at?
Oh, this is hypothetical.
Well, if you're shooting a telescope terrestrially at 1/2000th of a second, you're going to get probably enough to stop any action. If you're shooting the moon, you're shooting way too fast and you've got your gain set too high.
Okay. But let's say that you have a scope that can do that. I have a 25-inch Newtonian that I'm going to try this with this coming spring. Are there recommended settings? I'll email you about it, but I just thought you'd have a quick answer. So.
Sure, it depends on what you're shooting. I can certainly offer suggestions for lunar stuff. Anything outside of that is
No, that's what I'm interested in, because
beyond.
your lunar shots are amazing, amazing, amazing.
But you can do it offline.
you.
I think
Thank
that
you.
People would be really interested to have this conversation at Astro Cafe.
Oh, there's a good idea.
This is exactly what I would like to see in Astro Cafe, is this sort of interaction between people on the screen.
Good.
Speaking of screen interactions, I've got someone peeking his head in here, so I'm going to be upstairs in a minute, okay? Well, tell her that I'm talking on the computer. Okay.
In water balloons.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. Go. Go.
Very good. Our youngest member.
Yes.
Chris, Margie,
Yeah.
I don't know who Kelly Salmas is. Would Kelly like to tell?
I can introduce her though. She's a former student of mine and a very good astronomer. And so I invited her.
I don't know about very good, but I'll take the compliment.
Hello, Kelly.
Hi, I think I've met some of you guys before. I graduated just recently from UVic with an astronomy degree. And I ran the open houses on Wednesday nights for like probably 4 years.
Wow.
Very nice. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks for letting me join in.
Well, I guess we'll get started. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to Victoria Centre Astro Cafe for Monday, June 21st. Reminder that it's a busy weekend coming up. Not only is it the General Assembly and also the AGM, there will, as I understand, although Lauri's not here tonight to confirm it, there's a star party on Saturday night as well from the observatory, so you can have a full Saturday of astronomy topics if you wish. So just a reminder that that's happening. Maybe while we're on that note, Chris Gainor, is there anything new and breaking news from for about the GA or the AGM? Did we lose Chris? He was here.
Yes.
Oh, there you are. I lost you. There you are.
Well, it's just, things are moving ahead, and, and those of us who registered a little earlier are starting to get our packages from National. I think Joe posted a picture. We got this neat little, it's actually a big honking pin. Mm-hmm. So for the GA, and So yeah, we're almost getting to the time, and you know, I think it looks pretty exciting. So that's all I have to say. Nothing, but I can't think of anything really startling or new that I haven't told you about.
Right. So just a reminder that a ticket is required because there is a fee to attend the GA portion, but if you want to attend the AGM, that is free and that is a separate registration.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So 2 registrations if you want to do it all.
And the links are in the email that was sent out by National yesterday.
Yeah, yeah. So
Are people signing up?
Yes.
Yeah, for both.
Yeah.
Yes, for both, and so it's looking pretty good. But you know, there's a lot of us who are already looking forward to the one where we the next real GA, you know, as opposed to virtual GA.
Yeah.
So
a GA in person.
That's right, but we don't know where that's going to be. So
no. Very good. Okay, thanks, Chris. On the agenda tonight, then I have Randy had wanted to say some things about the Solstice. John about the Astrophoto SIG. We have some photos from Edmonton. Malcolm, did you have something to present?
Yeah, it'd probably take about 5 or 10 minutes. Yeah.
Great. And then Brock, there was some discussion that you would have some photos. So is that ready to roll too?
Yeah, I've got that lined up.
I can pull a couple up too, Brock, if you like.
Sure.
I just got them.
Yeah, so why don't we start with Malcolm, if you're ready to roll.
Okay. Being new to presenting to this group, I have to bring up my slideshow here.
So it should be share screen, and then it should give you a choice there of screen or bits. So yeah, that should be it, the screen, and then you can open the slideshow. And hopefully we should be able to see it. And there it is. Yes, we've got it.
Screen here. Basically, what I wanted to present was maybe a cross-platform of sorts. And that is, I've been into geocaching for about 10 years to 15 years here, and I find it quite fun. It gets you out of the house, and you don't have to worry too much about meeting people in these current times of difficulty, and it gets you out and exercising. And I was thinking of how you could sort of use this hobby for both from the geocaching group and getting them interested in astronomy as well. So I kind of came up with an idea to incorporate both of them. So basically, the premise was that, you know, geocaching and how it can be useful for astronomy in public outreach, because it'll give them some information about astronomy, and those amateur astronomers into geocaching, perhaps. I don't know. So I just came up with a little idea, and moving on to the next slide. It's fun and educational for both. I've been active for about 10 or 15 years, and some of the things about geocaching is they're real objects, and you either go and find them or you have a puzzle you have to solve. So the first one I came up with was a puzzle cache, and it's called What's in the Sky series puzzle cache. So there's going to be more than one to come out, and the idea is to get people interested in astronomy. And the first one was on the International Space Station, of all things. There was a cache on the ISS, which was archived, was removed from the geocaching.com website after Owen Garrett, who left it there on the International Space Station. When he left, he decided to take it offline. also having been thinking about how to design things for people to find these, I came up with a few themed caches, which is different kinds. There's a regular geocache which has its location. So you go to the location with your phone or your GPS, that's trying to think of, and you find the box, you find the prize, and there are things inside. And then you move on to the next one. So people get interested in finding these things. And so inside you would find different things you could take for yourself or pass it along to the next geocache that you find. So I thought I'd come up with an astronomy themed things that you could put into a cache, or there are things called path tags, which you take from one cache and pass it along to the next geocache, and you place it inside. So they travel from geocache to geocache by players of the hobby. And if you're interested in looking to find out more about it, you can look at their website, which is geocaching.com. And geocaches come in different sizes. They come in as small as a little bolt, and they're called micro caches. Or there can be a plastic cache. And you generally want to keep what's inside dry so they don't get wet. And there's some of them are very difficult to find. So they can be like a little rock, but when you turn them upside down, there's something inside that you have to take out. And sometimes what you find inside are kind of fun. Because I'm interested in astronomy, you might recognize some of these things or not. Right recently, the geocaching.com website decided to come out with some unique ideas. One was the Mars rover. And so these things have a code on them, which when geocachers find them or they meet people out there in the field that have them with them, they have a code on them. So you can take the information or the code off it and put it in your profile as having found it or seen it. So they come in different shapes and sizes. And so, of course, if I'm interested in astronomy, I'm going to be collecting astronomy type articles or clothing of different things. So there's the Mars rover coin, there's a Mars rover path that goes from place to place. And in 2010, I was able to get in touch with the International Space Station on ham radio, which was kind of fun. So I collected the patch for that. And different other coins that come out in astronomy themed things. And of course, on the Mars rover, there's the staple of how they take their pictures, which is this one here. And of course, other astronomy related coins that people might find interesting. And basically, that's basically what my presentation is about. But the idea is to try and get geocachers interested in astronomy, which is kind of the purpose for this presentation. So that's about it. Thank you. Unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Malcolm?
Yeah, Malcolm, I think this is an interesting idea. Can a geocache be something like what color is a star in or getting figuring out where a constellation is? Could that be part of a puzzle?
Yeah, I would say so.
So you can make a geocaching thing to help people figure out what's in the sky then, huh?
Yeah, yes, you could. You could design something like that.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Malcolm, how many people found the geocache on the ISS?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I know Owen Garrett put it there. Maybe a couple of the other astronauts might have been geocachers.
And its coordinates kept changing with time.
That's right. Yeah.
And what do you say, Malcolm, to the space station when you're talking to them overhead?
You're basically just exchanging call signs so that you can write it in your log that ham radio people keep. And so it's something somewhat of a keepsake or something that you can talk about. And they sometimes talk about different things like what's currently happening on the space station, or it's just one of the things that ham radio people do, just exchange information. And
But you actually talked to somebody on the space station?
Yeah, I was an astronaut.
Wow.
Any other questions? Great. Well, thanks very much, Malcolm.
Okay.
And you should be able to choose a stop sharing option near the top. Perfect. So there you go, and that's the essence of sharing. Thank you again. Randy, are you ready to?
I sure am. And I want to wish everybody a happy summer. And sorry, I just have to move this thing at the bottom. I'm not in my normal place where I have my multiple screens. I'm outside right now. Okay, so I would imagine everybody in this crowd is quite aware of what is happening astronomically. As we go through the year, the Earth's axis is tilted 23 1/3 degrees off the pole of the ecliptic. So the at different times of the year, the sun illuminates the sun at a different angle. And in particular, the summer solstice marks the highest latitude that the sun is pointing directly down on the Earth. So if you Google summer solstice, then it'll say that it was June 20th, yesterday. But it's kind of funny because since it was 8:30 here, well, what does that mean? And also, everybody grows up saying that the solstice is on June 21st. And in fact, it bounces around. Well, let's just take a look at Canada with its time zones. It's a big country, and so it takes a long time for the sun to get from Newfoundland all the way to Victoria. And so it's been divided into a bunch of time zones. And if we take a look here, it was at 8:30 yesterday. And then Mountain time, it was 9:30, and Central 10:30, and Eastern 11:30. But when you get to Atlantic time, then it's actually on the 21st. So we celebrated the day of the solstice on Sunday, and then Atlantic Canada and Europe and Africa and pretty well the whole rest of the world are celebrating it on today. I find this interesting, especially since, again, I grew up thinking June 21st is the date of the solstice. Anyway, this is a very clever display showing the time of the solstice over 400 years. And so this is June 20th at midnight, at noon, the 21st at midnight and noon, 22nd at midnight and noon. Okay, so we've got 3 days represented here. And the important point is that with leap years, no, not with leap years, but without leap years, it moves about a quarter a day every year. And then after 4 years, then we put a leap day in and it jumps back down. So we have this kind of sawtooth, but this is what I wanted to show you. The Earth does not have a nice, easy number of days in the year. So if it was just a leap year every 4 years, then it would be 365.25 days, but there's these extra decimal places. Or if we put it into hours, minutes, and seconds, there's an extra 10 minutes every year above that 1 day every 4 years that has to be taken into account. And the way they do that is they don't put on a leap year when a year divisible by 4 is also divisible by 100, except when it's also divisible by 1,000. So the year 2000 was a leap year, but 1800, 1900, 2100 are not leap years.
Actually, they have to be divisible by 400. So it's every 4th one.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Okay. So, and that's just to take into account this 10 minutes a year. It adds up. It gets important. So I found this diagram really interesting. And one of the things I was keen to find out about are these wibbles, because it's not dead flat. So how are you going to do that? Well, I found a website that actually tabulated all the equinox and solstice times. And I brought that into a plotting program. And I subtracted a constant from each. So they're just, don't worry about what the 0 is with each of these, but these are, this is for the spring is days around March 21st, and for the summer solstice is around June 21st. And this is for the years 2000 to 2100. And then what I did is, instead of letting the leap years happen, then I got rid of those leap years. So I add an extra 4 days every 4 years, extra day every 4 years. And then they turn into these nice straight lines. And then I took the average slope and subtracted that. And this is what's left over. And this is not noise. This is actually what the astronomy does. These are the long-term variations or changes in the Earth's orbit. The eccentricity, the obliquity. They will change over the thousands of years. These are what are called Milankovitch cycles, and they control the ages of the ice ages. They're very important for in Earth science. But the little bumpies and things, those are the interactions between the Earth and the Moon, the other planets, but especially Jupiter. Jupiter has a quite important effect. And I have to say, I just love that practical astronomy is able to work out these things to such accuracy. Because take a look at
Randy,
Yeah.
are these data points actuals or predicted?
Haha. These are predicted using Mayus, the great
Oh, I know. I'm the mathematician. Yes, right?
astrometric prediction. And I am fascinated to know how they take geophysical and astrophysical effects into account, because, I mean, first of all, every year, the amount of water in the north or the southern hemisphere changes. And so that changes the moment of inertia of the Earth. But then there are also changes from deep inside the Earth that affect the rotation. And a big deal in the field of geodynamics is the difference between astronomical and these super accurate atomic clocks. This is something that is monitored very closely, and you compare how long it takes for the quasars to go around the Earth compared to what the atomic clocks are. So this is as far as I went down this particular rabbit hole, David, and I'm probably at some point I'm going to take a look a bit more, but I am interested to see these differences. And so 0.1 of a day, just to give you a sense of scale. So that is 2.5 hours. And so we're looking at minutes of variation with these things. And there's some things that take decades. Some of these signals are decades, some are a bit shorter, some are longer.
So
Anyway,
Randy, is
yeah.
the spin of the Earth slowing down over geological time?
Oh yes, this is a wonderful thing. There are
Well, I don't know if it's such a good thing.
satellites. Satellites are these algal mounds that you find in intertidal zones, and you find them going right back 1 billion years. There's some of the earliest life forms, organized life forms on Earth, and you can actually see daily and annual signals in them. And on the basis of that, they figure that 1 billion years ago, the Earth's orbit, the Earth's rotation was something more around, I don't know what it is, 15 hours, but it's been slowing down. And it's also part of the, the tidal friction with the moon. So energy is being used in the tides, and that's slowing the Earth down. It's a very big topic. Okay, so another aspect of summer, the Tropic of Cancer, sorry, this guy is the highest latitude that the sun's rays ever are vertical on June 21st, or plus or minus a day. But we also have this Arctic Circle up here, and colloquially that is the furthest south that you get midnight sun, that you get 24 hours of daylight. And I've been up at the Arctic Circle. This is on the Dempster Highway north of Dawson City. I imagine several of you have been up north of the Arctic Circle, Chris certainly, but this is garbage. Like, it's only of interest if the Earth were spherical and there's no atmosphere, because this is just an example. So this is showing if the sun, here's the equator, 10, 20, there's 23 degrees, the sun is over Saudi Arabia, then it's midnight in Dawson. These are just a couple of different ways. I just rotated the globe around. So if you're looking straight down on Arabia and you go through the pole, then you can see how northern Yukon is illuminated. And it's really freaky when you're in Yukon in the summer. The sun is actually pointing north at 1 in the morning. And it takes a bit of figuring out what's going on. But, if I'm here, then I'm looking due north to see the sun at midnight, or at 1 o'clock, which is, solar midnight. But Dawson City is 250 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle. And everybody who spends the solstice in Dawson City knows that there's a midnight sun there. So that's because of the refraction. And in this case, it's because everybody gathers up on the mountain over Dawson. There's a race up there, and people gather up there, and it's a big party, but it's way south of the Arctic Circle. So I think the Arctic Circle is a complete fiction, and but not the Tropic of Cancer, because there the sun would be coming straight down, so it's not going to refract.
How much does it refract, Randy? Randy, how much does that refract? Like, how much higher is the sun than it actually is? Does it appear to be?
Okay, it's going to, of course, depend on the weather and the temperature and things, but with my sextant, they have all of these correction tables for what you do when the sun is close to the horizon, and it can be not a degree, less than a degree, but it's enough to screw up your location. You always try to do your navigation when the sun is a bit higher. There are these correction tables that depend on the temperature and the humidity and things, but an astronomer would not, a navigator wouldn't take a pic right from when at sunrise or sunset. But it's an excellent question, Gary.
I have another question. It's a test for you, Randy. What is the latitude of the Tropic of Cancer?
22 1/3.
Good for you.
So another question, Randy, in that long graph you plotted, is there any effect of precession shown there, or is that too long a time period to show?
Absolutely. There's a great website that plots that graph over 100 years, over 1,000 years, over 10,000 years, and over 100,000 years, and you see all these things interacting, and he explains them.
Amazing.
But I thought that I went enough into detail for tonight.
Cool.
You're a bona fide rabbit hole guy of fascinating topics.
Randy, I have a question about the lines of perturbation, I guess it was, where you had the equinoxes, you had 4 lines going across the screen.
Yeah.
The equinoxes and the solstices. The solstices had a slope to them, and the equinoxes were more or less averaged out and stayed level.
When you look over a long time, this is again what I was. This is what I was looking at this afternoon. That's what it is right now. But you go later on in these Milankovitch cycles, which are over tens of thousands of years, then it's just where you are on those sine waves.
Okay.
So I just put up here, I found that Nav Canada has a bunch of aircraft or airport cameras.
Oh, good for you.
This is one from a short time ago in Pangnirtung. It's the only place that is marginally clear tonight that I could see. I'll show you where these cameras are. But you can see the sun is setting here because of the topography or whatever, and we're just almost at true north for the sun to set. So that's, and that was at on the top of the hour there, I guess, at 8 o'clock our time.
So Chris, did you find it strange when you first got up north?
Yeah, especially as we did live over the Arctic Circle, because the first place we lived on the Dempster Highway in the middle of the 3 NWT communities. So yeah, it is weird when it's light all night. So this is one in a Klavik. A Klavik's definitely over the Arctic Circle. Unfortunately, it's cloudy tonight. But it's, oh, wait a second, I should click this one, no, yeah, this one, and there, yeah. So that's north, and I think we are seeing the sun kind of over here a bit. It's kind of hard to make it out for sure, so. But, yeah. So these are where, if you go to this website, this is where the cameras are at various airports when it's working. And so I lived there, for example, but I think it's, oh no, there we are. I lived in this community for 5 years. Oops, keep clicking the wrong thing. I mean to click that so you can see the sun is here getting close to north. So yeah, it is a very different sort of thing when it's you know, I remember our possessions arrived and we were unpacking, and I remember saying to my wife, boy, I'm getting pretty hungry. It must be nearly dinner time. And I think it was after 11 that night. And it was just still so light out. It was kind of like, oh yeah, it must be. Oh, wait a second. What time is it? So yeah. Very good. Yeah. Well, thanks for finding, you know, figuring that out, Randy. It'd be interesting to see, because I noticed on the graph there too that they don't seem to move together. So you get different wobbles in different lines.
That it just blows me away. It's really, really wonderful work. And it's the sort of thing that pre-GPS was really important for working out longitude and time. This was the great project. This was like CERN, or like the Hubble spacecraft. Now they working out celestial mechanics was big science. That's why Greenwich is there. And
yeah.
Randy, just a comment. I'm not aware that anybody in Victoria ever did this, but if you think about it, it would have been fairly possible to work out that the sun would end up being north if you went far enough north of Victoria from, you know, around the solstice day, because you watch the sun set and you watch the sun rise, and it rises further north and it sets further north as you get toward the you know, the end of June.
yeah.
So why not, if you go further, when the sun is still up, it's bound to be right around north. And now, having said that and sounding like I knew something, I never thought of that before your talk.
Yeah. Good.
Well, thanks very much for sharing that. That's really neat. I posted the link in case somebody wants to have a look at that camera site. It is quite interesting.
I just have one question for Randy.
Sure.
Why did they make Greenwich the prime meridian rather than the middle of the Pacific?
Oh,
it would have made life easier for timing if they'd put it in the middle of the Pacific. If they put it in
Mr. Flamsteed, the astronomer royal, worked out the position of the stars right through the middle of his telescope. And who's been to Greenwich? You actually can see when he went from Halley to Flamstead, their meridians moved by about 3 meters. And so you can actually see on the pavement in front of their telescopes where they moved it. But it's all the longitudes are based on the time of when stars go right over their telescope. And of course, the Parisians went crazy with that. They wanted it to be when it went over the observatory in Paris. And still, French maps show Greenwich longitude and Paris longitude. It's a matter of nationalism. Yeah, so it's all about they needed to set a 0, and the 0 is right through the middle of their telescope.
Okay. So they couldn't have done that in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
And then the international.
They could do it anywhere.
They
could do it anywhere. It's just arbitrary.
Yeah, they weren't there. They were in London, so they picked London.
Yeah.
The Russians wouldn't have liked the middle of the Pacific either, Lauri.
No, I guess not.
But the international date line came centuries later.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking It would have made timing better for, economics and things like that if you didn't have the time change. Anyway.
Unless you lived in Hawaii or the Cook Islands.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be
Okay,
harder
we
to
started
find a
at
little
time
marker
zones.
on a vacation
It is.
if it was in the ocean.
At that time, the Pacific wasn't very well explored, so
No.
Lauri, it would be a wild place to try to establish your position and with a telescope on your deck.
Right. That's what I was thinking. If it was all.
There's a historical part to it.
Yeah.
And, Britannia ruled the waves, and so they got to say where the zero was.
Yeah.
It's often who gets there first.
Yeah.
Very good. So maybe we'll have a look at some of the astrophotography. So John, I think you wanted to say a few words, did you not? And then Brock, if you're ready to show us some of the works.
Sure.
Okay, I just wanted to mention that this Wednesday is the monthly astrophotography SIG meeting, 7:30 Wednesday night. And the topics this time will include a review of any images of 101, because that M101 was the monthly challenge for this month. So any of you that don't have an image of it yet can get one in the next night or two, maybe. We'll be talking about sort of an introduction for beginners to planetary imaging and some introductory stuff for processing with PixInsight. And I just want to mention that beginners and pros are all welcome. In fact, sometimes the beginners have interesting questions that the pros can help with. So that's Wednesday night, 7:30. That's all.
So John, I'd like to make a clarification there. I was supposed to give the PixInsight primer, you guys, and all of a sudden a meeting came up that I couldn't miss. I wasn't allowed to miss. So I won't be there. And I was offering to give John a PDF of my presentation, but I'd like to present it myself, John, if you don't mind. So I'll do it at another.
I think you should. I've got a little bit of stuff that I can show just to whet the appetite for the beginners on PixInsight, which I'll do.
Okay, good.
But you do your thing next time.
Okay, good. Yeah, next time.
Is that okay?
Yep, that'd be great. Thanks.
Good.
Very good. Okay, and Brock, are you ready?
Yeah, I am. I could just coordinate with Dave.
Sure.
I was going to show a couple of Dave's images, but maybe Dave could show his first and go through them so I don't double up on what he's showing.
Why don't you go ahead? Why don't you go ahead, Brock, and do the whole thing?
Okay. And if you want to add something else, let me know what it is.
Sure.
Because I don't know the timing. I was picking stuff I know I took recently, but I don't know when your stuff was taken.
Well, everything I put on there is pretty much within the last 12 months.
Okay. I was trying to stick to the last sort of probably the last month or so.
Well, go ahead.
So I'll start with, is that sharing? I don't see the green rectangle yet.
It's sharing.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, we're seeing, is it your web page there? I think, yeah. Maybe if you move it up a bit on your screen, we might get a little bit, yeah, or even the whole top of the window. I don't know if that's going to work, but no.
I'll try it again.
Because it was on my screen anyways, it was leaving a bit of kind of unused space. No, I guess it's just centered it. So that's probably as good as it's going to get.
Okay, so this actually, let me start on the one furthest to the left here. This was actually, Dave Payne took this one quite recently, and it's the Ring Nebula, and it also has a little galaxy. Well, not a little galaxy. It's probably a huge galaxy, but it looks little. It's just a very distant galaxy, I guess is probably a more accurate statement. And then, I don't know if you want to speak to this one at all, Dave. Do you remember the name of that, or the designation of that galaxy?
Sure, it's M57.
Okay.
Oh, the galaxy is, oh, I don't know. It's IC 14 something. I can't remember.
Yes.
But it's easy to look. It's easy to look up. Yeah, so this one is just using normal light, red, green, and blue and luminescent filters, broadband filters. So it's kind of how, I guess it's best representative of how it would, what it actually looks like, insofar as that's a thing. But you can see the various colors in the center of that ring, in the ring galaxy, is a dwarf star, and it's a hot white dwarf, and it's emitting mainly UV light, so you don't really see that. But in the past, it was like a sunlight star and went through various phases where it blew off a lot of its gas, and it's actually layers of gas that are being illuminated or hit by these UV photons, and then it in turn is giving off the visible photons in various colors. And the various colors you see are hydrogen on the outside, and then nitrogen, and then oxygen, and then in the middle is I think it's helium in the middle, and it's actually a shape of a torus that we're seeing face on. But if you go to the my Zenfolio thing, if you're interested, I do a little bit of a write-up. I do just a few paragraphs on what I learned and what I found that particular picture interesting. And this is basically using the same data that was in the previous graph. You can see now the galaxy's up to the upper right, and it's a bit fainter now, but there's a whole bunch more detail brought into that ring nebula. And this added detail came about through the addition of narrowband filters. So that's filters that are looking specifically for the wavelengths given off by hydrogen and oxygen and sulfur, and combining that with the normal broadband light features to bring out some more detail. And you can actually see a sort of spiral or helical structure internal, and the more refinement to the layers, and I just found it very interesting. And the other thing that this required was about an additional 12 man-hours of processing work to get the colors as natural looking as possible, and it's basically, I'm learning as I go, so it takes me a long time to get through all this. And just an aside for the astrophotography SIG, what I was thinking of doing is putting in a Dropbox the master light frames. So the luminescence, red, green, blue, and the 3 broadband master light frames, and saying whoever wants to have a go at processing such a thing, go ahead. So I'll put them, I was thinking of doing that. If you think that would be something anyone would be interested in, or?
I'd love to take a crack at it.
Sure. Well, I'll do that then.
Could I just say that little galaxy I see, thanks Malcolm, I couldn't remember the number, is a wonderful object for even medium-sized telescopes in a really dark sky. Much easier to see, much easier to see visually than the central star in the ring, which is a real challenge. And I haven't done that yet with my 15-inch scope, but it's nice to see it in this photo.
Yeah. Well, it is an interesting photograph because both of those both the galaxy and the ring were considered nebula, conventional nebula, like before anyone knew what they really were.
Yeah, before Ross spiral. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the galaxy was then sort of crossed off the nebula list and put as a galaxy, and the ring nebula was sort of recategorized as planetary nebula, which are quite different than normal nebula that you see, right?
You know, I think the galaxy was observed. I'm not sure who observed it first, but a good bit later than the ring, which is of course fairly bright nebula.
So the galaxy is easier to see with your eye.
With a telescope, no, the ring just jumps out. No, you see the ring, you have to, the ring, people may go for the ring and admire it and not notice even, and I did it myself, I have to admit, years ago, and then I saw, oh, there's something there, and yeah, it's very clear in a dark sky. It's really nice little spiral.
So maybe there's one star in there it's a little bit oblong, and it looks like it's yellow red on one side. If you go to the right,
this one here.
No, further to the right, the other right. Yeah, right about there.
That's going.
That
this
guy.
one. Yeah.
So he's a little bit oblong. He's yellow on one side and blue on the other side. And I just wonder if that's some sort of double star, or.
There's also a double star. There's a double star here. That's why I was kind of.
Yeah.
This blob there is a double star. So this is probably as well. Okay. We've also got another shot here. This is one that I took of the same thing. So I took this one probably about 2 weeks ago. And it's a little wider field view, slightly different color balance, but very similar. I didn't get enough to get, this is actually where that galaxy is. You can just see a faint smudge, but I don't have enough exposure time to really make that stand out. But it's not as nice as Dave's work, but I'll take it. So
both are very nice.
Yeah.
Another shot that I did, this was actually taken last night. And this is the Eagle Nebula, and this is done in narrowband using the Hubble palette. And this was my first foray into using narrowband stuff. So it was quite interesting. A bit of a challenge to
good for you.
Figure it out. But,
what's the elevation of that target right now?
It starts out the evening just basically above the trees. I'd have to probably 15 degrees at the beginning of the night, and then it rises up, I think, close to 30.
Yeah.
It's about ideal. Like I was looking in Stellarium and looking like ahead a month and behind a month. And like if you ever want to get the Eagle Nebula, now's the time. Even though there's a full moon coming and it's the crappiest short nights, but it's with narrowband, it still actually jumped out pretty cleanly. So
yeah, looks great.
Brock, are you using all three of the narrowbands?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. H alpha, sulfur, and oxygen.
Good deal.
With the standard Hubble palette. And then, so I've got my nice magenta stars, and I didn't remove the green, but stuck with it. Also did it very quickly, so I didn't have much time to think about it other than just trying to get it done. So
you got the data.
But this is a, sorry?
You got the data. You can fool with it all you want now.
Yeah, I like
exactly.
that.
So
I like that
it was
dark.
kind of fun.
I like that dark nebula at the top.
Yeah, that's kind of just looks like a dark cloud of just.
It's really dimming your stars too behind it, right?
So
Yes,
for the folks that don't know, this is actually what they call these are the pillars of creation. It's a famous Hubble shot.
Yes.
And good for you, Dave, Brock, for getting it. Like, good going.
You can even see the.
Yeah, I was trying my best to reproduce. Sorry, Dave?
Oh, you can even see the star that's at the tip of the bottommost pillar there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I guess this one I took probably upwards of a month ago. This is the, oh, I can't remember the designation, M13.
Yeah, Hercules.
So it's the Hercules cluster. And that was an exceptionally good night. That was it was a gift night that just one night just popped out of the blue, and we had this amazing night of seeing. And
beautiful star colors.
Just enough time to get.
Yeah, beautiful. What, like beautiful star colors, like John said, and beautiful star shapes too. Like, well done. Like, wow.
And the resolution is so.
Yeah.
Almost 3D.
Yeah, it is. It does look like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah, that's a wall-worthy one. You can hang that on your wall.
I'll have to print it out. This I threw in here because this is a recent one. I didn't take it, John did. But I figured I was showing off stuff that had been done recently, so I figured I'd throw it in. Your nice work, John.
Yeah, looking good.
Yeah, thanks. That's just a very small sunspot in the middle, and
yeah.
But mostly you're just seeing the convoluted shapes made by the magnetic field around the sunspot, and then the granularity of the rest of the field.
Is that H alpha, John?
That's H alpha. Yeah, that's with a Lunt scope.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
John, I think that spot was just, I think 3 days ago, it was right in the middle, right in the center.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been moving across. I forgot the number. It's 28 something is the number of the spot. But
yeah,
I've been hoping to get more activity on the sun where I could start capturing some solar flares again. But
so 3 days ago when that was central, there were, I think I saw two of them anyways, visually, two prominences actually.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
I couldn't see anything the night I got, or the day I got this.
Is it expected that the cycles will swing back and we'll start having bigger sunspot activity, or?
Well,
I think that's a theory.
We're already past the minimum stage of solar activity. So in theory, we're heading toward a maximum, but nobody knows how maximum it will be.
The predictions of that have not been very accurate in recent years, and I'm not quite sure if anybody knows why.
Right.
Yeah, this is supposed to be one of the biggest maximum coming up, so of course it will be a dud.
Right. There was a video that NASA put out. I should have just thought of it now. You guys have probably seen it, but it's basically sunspot activity for like 20 years or something, and it's all done like within a couple of minutes. And it's interesting. It's actually like there's stripes on the sun when they actually put it all together, and you see it run over time.
It sounds like another Astro Cafe talk.
Yeah, good idea.
All the amateur radio operators are hoping for a little bit better cycle than we had last time around. It definitely has effects on how well you can communicate over long distances.
So I've also got, I think I've got, whoops, no, that's an older one. I didn't mean to show that one. So that's all the stuff that I brought up, the recent stuff. So, but I just had this. This is actually the transit of Venus from many years ago. But that's not recent, so I won't go into it.
Well, thanks for
I guess
putting
that's
that
all I've
together,
got.
Brock.
Sorry?
Thanks for putting that together. It's a great collection.
Is there any other new stuff you wanted to share, Dave? I'll take that as a no.
Well, thank you both.
Chris, I have a comment.
Sure, please go ahead.
for people like me who don't do astrophotography, it would be really neat for me to see the original photograph beside the
Processed one?
thank you, that's the word, the
Mhm.
processed one. Yeah, because I have no idea what the original
Look like
would look like.
a black
we can do
rectangle.
that because it'll look just like a black frame in most
So
cases.
Margie,
Except for the sun.
Margie, the next time we do solar imaging up at the virtual star parties, we can actually show you that real time. We can show you the prominences if there are any, and then the face, the granulation. We were able to do that on an astronomy day.
Yes, and I have seen, and in terms of the sun, I have seen the sun, but the like the pillars of creation.
Oh, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I really appreciate, Dorothy, you telling us what you've seen. You're such an experienced visual astronomer, and to know what you can and cannot see really helps when we look at these process photos. I appreciate that.
Well, I just wanted to say about the Eagle Nebula that we saw it nicely, not as well as I've seen in other places, but from the chosen star party site, some years ago, when we weren't blown away, was up left of those big trees that are pretty much straight south of where we set up the telescope, and that and the beautiful Swan Nebula, also that whole section was visible from there. So it's not high, but you get nice views of that part of the sky when it's clear in the mid-late summer. If I was prepared, I could show you a not very good sketch of those two, but
Okay, well, so there's some topics there that we can explore if people can put them together. Maybe that would be interesting to see, because how much, like in your photo there, Brock, how much data was in that one?
The one of the Eagle Nebula?
Yeah.
I think it totaled 2 hours and 40 minutes.
So that was a lot of individual shots, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, as we say, an individual one would look quite dark and not very much there, I guess.
Yeah.
I may spend almost that much time on a sketch if I have good conditions and really want to go for it. So, and I'm collecting those photons directly into my eye and my brain. But those are wonderful photographs.
Yeah, that turned out really well. I can't believe you did it just the other day and have already managed to put that together. That's great.
I posted that video I mentioned.
Here's
the chat.
one. Here's
wow.
one that I took from the SLU Observatory in Chile near Santiago. This is a much shorter integration than Brock did. It's only a matter of about 5 minutes, but it is in a pristine site, and it's a pretty big telescope.
Is that narrowband too?
This is LRGB. Yeah.
This is just LRGB. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But I like this one very much because it shows a lot of the dust around the eagle.
Yeah.
Everyone concentrates, of course, on this central core of the eagle, but there's a lot more going on in that whole region.
Which
Actually,
is this,
the eagle, of course, is a compound nebula because it's a star cluster. As you can see, the star cluster here, it's an open cluster as well as an emission nebula.
which telescope is that, Joe?
That is Chile 2, which is their wide field, large
Chile
wide
2.
field scope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have
'cause
your
that's way wider than what I had with mine. And
Yes,
that
it
was,
is.
Mine was with the reducer. So.
Yeah.
I don't want to take up the whole meeting, but Joe, do you have your Veil Nebula reprocessed?
It's not posted
Oh,
at the
okay.
moment.
I
No,
thought it was
sorry.
pretty-
Maybe next week.
Yeah.
Anyway, I guess the message is to everyone who's not an astrophotographer, we continue to be busy.
Yeah, I'm producing some great work. So Dave, are we, Robinson, are you ready to narrate?
Yep, sure.
Okay, so Dave had a few things from Edmonton. So let's see if we can, actually, I think we'll do it this way. And let's do this.
No star pictures.
Yeah, not this time. So the first thing you had was this.
Yeah, now Larry Wood, one of the members in Edmonton, posted this link, and it's a link to the European Southern Observatory VLT study of the dimming of Jupiter. And if you scroll up, you can see the much more refined images of what's happened to the luminance of the face of Jupiter, or not Jupiter, of Betelgeuse.
Betelgeuse.
Of Betelgeuse when it went through that short period of dimming. And from what they can tell, Betelgeuse has a fairly turbulent atmosphere to start with. And what happened is there was a big gas bubble that was ejected from the star, and where it was ejected off the surface of the star cooled down, which allowed the gas that was ejected off to condense directly into dust. So what you're seeing here is a big dust cloud of stellar gas that's turned to dust, that's scrolling across the bottom of the star. So there's a link there if you want to read a little more on it.
Yeah, I'll post that in the chat.
Do they know the composition of that dust?
They just said it's stardust.
Yeah.
It's whatever the gas that has collected to it, and that may be an interesting thing that will come from further study. They're doing additional high resolution images. So, and the next thing are photographs, but they're not of stars. They're of Stefan Olsen took these the other night of a big lightning storm that went through Edmonton. That post that you see in that one, he's got an all-sky camera on that thing. So,
yeah, actually appeared in 2 shots, I noticed, but that was some quite interesting lightning that you only ever seem to get on the prairies.
Yeah, these get those flash and boomers this time of year pretty frequently. So just a few interesting lighting shots. Now, apparently they did have a really good noctilucent cloud display last night, basically horizon to horizon. But the image that Alistair posted arrived too late for me to get it to you. So maybe next week I'll have something on NLCs for you.
Those are some very neat shots. And of course, something we don't see here. Not like that.
Make the headlines here.
So anyways, so thanks for sending those along, Dave.
Yeah, I thought
does anybody have anything else? So I think that was all we had, but
Chris, I'll just invite people to come out next Saturday night to the virtual star party on the 26th. Now I know that is on the same night as the GA is on, and but the things for the GA are kind of earlier in the day because we're 3 hours behind Toronto. So by the time we get into the evening, they're already kind of finished. So if anybody wants to come on, we're having Scott Roberts and Jenny Atwood are going to be talking about the new IT building and our INT building and doing a virtual tour inside. So if you're interested in what's happening up at the center for the big green building, please come on and join us. Thanks. You can get onto the you can get on either by the FDAO YouTube, or you can just simply go on centeroftheuniverse.org, and on the front page there is a link that just goes, you know, join Zoom, and you can get right in there. So thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Does anybody else have anything for this evening?
Sorry, there was one more thing.
Sure.
I bought Diane's equipment.
Hey, well done.
So I have her Mr. Sporty a Dob, and I have her big binoculars that I can't keep up, and have to do some work at trying to get that. We've got the beautiful blanket that she made, so that we can use that for star parties. We've got books. I've got all kinds of things that can be used. So I think what I'm going to do is possibly use some of it for my own use that I can do, and then part of it will be donated back up to the center, so that people will be able to use it back up there. So I was really happy to be able to do that, so that we know that Diane's things will not be spread too far. It's still here in Victoria. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
Went to a very good home.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. My part of my kitchen is now completely covered with things, but that's okay.
Well, you got a telescope for each eye.
Lauri, perhaps we could, unless you mount the big telescope on your own deck for use at home, if it were mounted up at the DAO when we have real star parties, it could be a real asset, something that as we talked about a few years ago, an adjustable height that could allow people standing or sitting to use the big
I certainly would have
binoculars.
To do
that would be
have to have something that would keep them completely steady, and and be because they're real monsters, that's for sure.
Yeah, have them put on a stand, maybe built by the people at the CARSA at UVic, who do the things for special needs people, and do fantastically beautiful jobs. And for a public outreach, they would probably give us a very good price for it.
There are some issues with big binoculars for public outreach. The guys in Edmonton bought a pair of decent sized ones with a parallelogram mount, and
I think that's what you need.
It didn't work really well for public, because you're always adjusting the interocular distance.
Yes.
For every user, and if they're slightly out of focus because they're individual eyepiece focus, it's a little tough to do that for a whole herd of people. The parallelogram mount, if you're going to get one or two people, you can adjust them and let them play with them for a while, is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
Check the website bigbinoculars.com.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about possibly a custom made for telescope, in this case maybe big binoculars, in which a rascal would be on hand to help a person who needed it. But that's some dream for the future. It's wonderful, Lauri.
Yeah.
That you got them.
No, I'm pleased, but they won't be. Yeah, they really are hard to use. I have no idea how Diane was able to use those without any mount or anything at all. And she got all kinds of things with those. It's amazing. I'm sitting here going, and every time I breathe, everything goes up and down, so anyway, if they're wonderful, they're really wonderful. So I hope to be able to get them into use. So maybe I'll get the makers group or something to help me with making something as well to kind of do that. Okay.
Well, I think actually putting an imager in one of the eyepieces would be, at the back of one of the eyepieces would be something to explore. And then you just have a little screen where people see the screen instead of actually using the binocular itself.
Right, right. We kind of go into
Because it's
that.
a nice wide field of view, but it's hard to use otherwise.
Yeah. Well, it's a long-term project. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Something we can think about. That's really good. Great. Well, thanks for letting us know about that. So remember that it's the GA RASC AGM. We have the star party on Saturday night, so there's a lot happening this week. Plus, we're supposed to have a night, a week of fairly clear skies, although quite a large moon as we go towards the full moon. But we'll see. I think there was some suggestion that the seeing wouldn't necessarily be great with the heat, but we'll see what happens. Any final comments? Because if not, we'll see you here next week.
According to my sky charts, Mars is going to be directly into the Beehive cluster tomorrow night. So if it's still clear, that might be worthwhile trying for.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for letting us know about that. Yeah. So some interesting things to see, maybe, even though as David was saying at the beginning, short hours of darkness, but and the full moon doesn't help, or the nearly full moon doesn't help.
Oh, there is one thing I should tell you. I have started my variable star journey. I signed up for one of the programs with the AAVSO. So I actually had a change of heart in terms of starting with CCD observation of variables. So I've embarked on visual variables to start. So I'm probably going to continue. I'm probably going to do both, but I've decided to start the journey in visual.
Maybe you can tell us more.
Yeah, I should be able to tell you more. It's actually 4 weeks long, and I see it's extremely active. I just started this morning, and there's been a huge forum already with a whole bunch of questions and stuff. And yeah, it's going to be a fairly active group. It's actually a way larger than I thought. I think there must be like over 20 people in the cohort. So it should be interesting.
Very good. Okay, well, I think, with that, as I say, it's a busy week coming up for things astronomy. So hope everybody gets a chance to participate in what they would like to do this week and get some observing or some photographs taken. So anyways, take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week.